Southern California, welcome to Money Matters with Dino. Saturdays from noon to 1, right here on Power Players Radio, KTLK AM1150. Do you own a home or have plans to in the future? You'll get all the information you need to know about what's happening in the local real estate market and how to take advantage of that knowledge. How to approach home ownership or mortgage financing with design, vision, and focus, as well as accurate information. Whether you're buying, selling, or investing, listen to Money Matters with Dino right here on Power Players Radio, KTLK AM1150.
Welcome to Money Matters with Dino on KTLK AM1150, the most important hour of radio for Southern Californians every week. My name is Dino Katsiametis, and I want to thank you for joining today's conversation. Sounds like a bold thing to say, the most important hour of radio, but if you're listening right now, I guarantee by the time the show is over, you'll have learned something valuable. If you go to our website, moneymatterswithdino.com, you'll see the tagline, From Your Estate to Real Estate, where your money matters. That title sums up what our show is all about. It's about money, your money. That can be anything from buying and selling homes to the stock market or even starting a new business. Our goal and purpose for this show is to educate you regarding these matters. How do we do this? We seek out top professionals in our market and learn what their years of experience have taught them. Now, I know real estate. I'm a lifelong entrepreneur. And I have knowledge in other fields of business, but I'm not an expert in all these areas. Therefore, in this show, I bring you respected professionals that are experts in their fields because it's critical to me that I provide you with accurate and educational information that applies to you. And I take that very seriously. So before we get into what I have in store for you today, I want to share with you this week's words of wisdom. Integrity without knowledge is weak and useless, and knowledge without integrity is dangerous and dreadful. Samuel Johnson, an English author, wrote that, and I found that interesting just based on what we're going to be talking about today. Our title for the show today is What to Do When Things Look Financially Hopeless. Many of us have experienced severe hardship over the past 5 years or so, but the question is how we handled it. It's during these difficult times like this that really shows a person's moral character and integrity. Integrity is defined as adherence to moral and ethical principles, soundness of moral character, honesty. So we'll be talking a little more about that later in the show. But remember one thing, integrity is something that we should have when nobody is watching. Integrity is something that we should have when nobody is watching. That's really important. Now, usually I pick one topic that I use for words of wisdom, but on the way up here today, one of our guests, James Burns, actually said something that fits perfect into what we're going to be talking about. Quit acting like a sand crab and start acting like a human being. And I love that because you're going to see later in our show regarding our topic about, what to do when things look financially hopeless. So this is why I do the show week in and week out. It's because of topics like this and the amazing guests that we have. And it's also why we decided to call the show Money Matters. My expertise is in growing and managing wealth using the vehicle of real estate. And I see too many people missing opportunities to become real estate wealthy. Having decades of experience and extensive knowledge in helping people with their real estate needs, as well as my own, has convinced me that real estate is still, and by far, the best way to grow a steady and secure portfolio of wealth. Now, that's not the only reason we call the show Money Matters. The other, and I think the greater reason, is that money affects your quality of life. Every financial decision you make will affect where you'll be able to go out for dinner, how you'll spend the holidays, and if you're a family man like me, it'll mean where your kids will go to college. Or even if they'll be able to go to college. Think about that. Every financial decision you make today will affect your quality of life tomorrow. Decisions that will affect what neighborhood you live in and what schools your kids will go to. If your kids will be able to play an organized sport or learn an instrument. I know that sounds silly, but it's not. All these things cost money. And I know as well as anybody does that you don't want to say no because of money, but too many of us have to too much of the time. Money, when managed properly with the advice of professionals, will enable you to say yes. And understanding money, whether it's the stock market or real estate, will protect you from market volatility like we experienced the past few years. So remember, from your estate to real estate, your money matters. I hope you enjoy the show. So today, once again, I'm gonna go with humble producer Phil Giagrande. is co-hosting with me today, and he's a fantastic guy with a lot of opinions. So you'll be hearing some of those opinions later.
I have no idea what you mean by that.
Yeah, but one of the most opinionated man in this little building that we're in right now.
Well, I'm the only Italian, so that really kind of goes with that.
Yeah, and we have a great lineup. In studio with us today, we have from Manning Law Office in Newport Beach, Joseph Manning. And from the law office of James Burns, we have, you guessed it, James Burns. Two extremely intelligent individuals that you won't want to miss. And in that next segment, our guests will join us in our discussion with our panel of experts. Today, we're addressing an extremely important topic: what to do when things look financially hopeless. There could not be a more important topic for us to cover. So many people have had such a difficult time, and I really want to offer advice that I can help people with. So please stay tuned for that. As always, our last segment is our Ask Dino segment, where Phil, our producer, will ask me the questions that you, the listener, has either Facebooked us or gotten on our website and asked questions of stuff that's going on in your life right now that you just need some answers on. So stay tuned for the Ask Dino segment. It's always one of our favorites, and we just knock down a bunch of questions there. So hopefully one of them will pertain to you. And if you have any questions either for myself during the show or any of the guests that you'll be hearing today, call us at 949-720-1616, and we'll be glad to help you. That's 949-720-1616, or check us out online at moneymatterswithdino.com. Use us as your resource for real estate wealth. So, Phil, what are we talking about today?
Well, in preparation for the show, I've been reading a lot of articles on the psychology of declaring bankruptcy, because I really feel that people in financial pain sort of stick their heads in the sand too often and don't really look at their options.
So by the way, real quick, just to interrupt you, going back to that, the words of wisdom, the quote I gave earlier, that our guest, James Burns, said without even knowing what exactly we were going to be talking about. He said, quit acting like a sand crab and start acting like a human being.
You see, there it is. Exactly. Now, I like having a professional opinion to fall back on. So here's what clinical psychologist Bradley Klontz said. He said, bankruptcy is an enormous financial and psychological stressor. Financial stress can lead to a lot of personal control, or to a loss of personal control, depression, anxiety, shame, and relationship problems. He went on to say, many of us confuse our self-worth with our net worth. As such, financial problems can deal devastating blows to our self-esteem. Bankruptcy can lead to feelings of guilt and shame and cause us to isolate from our family and friends out of embarrassment. And I've seen this happen, especially over the last few years, but I've seen this happen going back to when I was a kid and I knew family friends that had to declare bankruptcy. And it was like they were just afraid to come around to functions anymore because they knew everybody knew and they were embarrassed. And that's such a horrible, horrible place to be. The truth is that people in trouble right now are in good company. In 2012, 1,595,665 people declared bankruptcy.
Wow.
Right, exactly.
I wouldn't exactly call it good company, though.
Not good. Okay, fine. But I think
that's a lot of people.
I think the first thing to realize is that you're not alone if you're having financial trouble. The second thing to realize is that bankruptcy is a tool that many businesses use to protect assets and relieve debt. It's just business. So sometimes you want to think about declaring bankruptcy if you're absolutely if it's just the best financial decision. I mean, of course, you don't want to have to declare bankruptcy, but the point is, if companies are doing it because it makes financial sense, and they clearly don't feel bad about doing it,
clearly,
why? Right? Why should you have this stigma attached to it? So, as for foreclosures, there were 2,300,000 foreclosures. 2,100,000 foreclosure filings and repossessions of 700,000. I mean,
wow.
That's incredible.
Staggering numbers.
Just last year. I mean, the point is, everybody's feeling this kind of pain. You don't need to stop attaching stigma and embarrassment to it and just moved to the next thing. Become active in your financial life and figure out what the next smartest thing to do is and go for it. And you'll get out of your situation, I think, a lot quicker.
Well, I think you're 100% right, because exactly what happens, and me being in the financial industry and what I do is I talk to people, and I can't tell you how many people come to me when it's too late. And I think you'll see that with the guests here today, because we were talking about that on the ride up here. And too many of them, they put their hand, their head in the sand, and they wait until it is absolutely too late. And then there's not many choices.
That's right. Whereas before, there might have been a lot of preventative measures you could take that are going to get you out of your situation. So always be honest with yourself about your financial situation, and always seek help, and know that everybody else needs to too.
Yeah. But, so bringing back my words of wisdom from earlier, integrity without knowledge is weak and useless, and knowledge without integrity is dangerous and dreadful. So the part that I'm trying to get across there is, the people that know the bankruptcy laws and take full advantage of them by maxing out as much as they can, you know what? You're not doing the right thing.
Right.
And that's when you got to have some moral character and integrity, right? But at the same time, integrity without knowledge is weak and useless. So you might have integrity and you think you're going to pay everything back and you're going to do everything the right way, but sometimes maybe you got sick, maybe you lost your job, whatever the situation is you have to know what your options are. And you have to take advantage of them. I mean, we live in a country that gives you options.
That's the perfect way to put it. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
The way I look at it is, like you said earlier, it's a business. And when it's a business, a credit card company made a business decision by giving you a credit card. Now, should you pay him back? Yes, you should. However, if things go wrong, whether you got sick or lost a job or whatever, and you're at a point where you can't, especially at 30% interest rates at times, you have to just do it sometimes, but you have to seek the advice of professionals so you can know what those options are and make the best business decision.
Right.
And I always looked at it as that's a business decision, right? It's a big bank that made a business decision on you, so you can make it right back on them. But if you borrowed money, say from an individual, right? If I came to you and borrowed $1,000 and you helped me, right? Because it was helping me.
Yeah.
It wasn't making the business decision. And anything goes wrong in my life, I have to figure out how to pay you back. And unfortunately, it might not be tomorrow or next month or next year, right? But the strong moral thing to do there and integrity is to pay you back, the individual.
That's right.
So, anyways. Enough about that. Well, we'll be listening to our professionals here in just a little bit on that, and that's going to be really exciting. You're listening to Money Matters with Dino on KTLK AM1150. If you have any questions at all about anything you've heard today, or you would like to inquire about a refinance or purchase of a home, give me a call at 949-720-1616. That's 949-720-1616. And let me help you make the best real estate decisions for you and your family. That's 949-720-1616. Or check us out online at moneymatterswithdino.com. Coming up after the break, we have our panel discussion with the experts. Joining us from Manning Law Office in Newport Beach, Joseph Manning, and Law Office of James Burns and Aliso Viejo. Guess who? James Burns. While you're waiting, think about your financial goals and ask yourself, am I ready for my own personal financial recovery? And am I investing in a way that will make me real estate wealthy? Stay with us. We'll be right back.
When it comes to purchasing or refinancing your home, turn to someone with experience, CHL Mortgage. It doesn't matter if you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing the home of your dreams, or refinancing. The team of mortgage specialists at CHL Mortgage provide you with superior knowledge and service. Their ultimate goal? Getting the highest quality loan at low rates. Their second goal? To create a lasting relationship with every client and continue to provide excellent service for years to come. If you're looking to purchase or refinance, call the experts at 888-814-3335. That's 888-814-3335. Get additional details at www.chl.cc or call their office at 888-814-3335.
Alliance Portfolio is a licensed real estate broker. California DRE broker license 01868859 NMLS 324460.
Are you looking to diversify or add real estate secured investments to your portfolio? Did you know that investing in trust deeds can provide a better return with better security than many other alternate investments? For over 20 years, Alliance Portfolio has been providing the highest quality mortgage fund and trust deed investment opportunities with first-class service and communication. Alliance Portfolio offers well underwritten loans, low loan-to-value ratios, and all secured by prime Southern California coastal community real estate. At Alliance Portfolio, we don't just lend money, we lend our expertise. Call 949-349-1322 today and let us know that you heard us on the Dino and Nelson Show to capitalize on a special opportunity. That's 949-349-1322. Investors, when our job is done, your job is easy. Sit back and capitalize. 949-349-1322 or text the word Alliance to 313131.
Welcome back to Money Matters with Dino on KTLK AM1150. If you have any questions for myself or my guests, or if you need help with your money matters, give us a call at 949-720-1616. That's 949-720-1616, or check us out online at moneymatterswithdino.com. This segment is brought to you by Alliance Portfolio, high-yield, low-risk investment funds utilizing coastal Southern California real estate. So if you haven't heard one of our shows where we were interviewing Alliance Portfolio, these guys are fantastic. I've been working with them for years. Basically, you can play bank. You as an individual can put money into their mortgage funds. They'll lend people money on it, on their coastal community homes mostly. So basically, your money is securitized by a first trust deed in Southern California real estate. So if you have any interest in that at all, give them a call. They are Alliance Portfolio. You can look them up on our website. Joining us today in our discussion panel with the experts is Joseph Manning and James Burns. Joseph is a civil trial attorney with an emphasis on real estate and business litigation. Prior to opening his own office, Mr. Manning worked as a civil trial attorney for two of Southern California's preeminent civil litigation firms. Joseph graduated magna cum laude from the University of San Diego School of Law, where he was a member of the San Diego Law Review in 1996. In 2003, he obtained his LLM, Master of Laws in Business and Corporate Law, also from the University of San Diego School of Law. Sounds to me like you were a party boy. Wasn't San Diego like the big party school?
It was, and it's funny. I'm one of those nerds that thought that was a competitive advantage because all my classmates would be at the beach while I was in the library.
Well, welcome to the show. We can't wait to hear what you have to say here. And also joining us is James Burns. He's licensed as an attorney and practiced tax and estate planning for 12 years prior to moving into individual, group, and business insurance and retirement planning. James graduated from Golden Gate School of Law and has his LLM, Master of Laws, from there in tax. He is also the author of the widely acclaimed book, The 3 Secret Pillars of Wealth, based on what self-made billionaires shared as the best investing advice they ever received. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Tell us about that book.
That book was a study that we did taking a look at 3 self-made billionaires, and I want to really stress self-made. These are folks that didn't have the silver spoon. They did it on their own. And so it takes us through a journey of looking at the 3 pillars, which are cash flow, leverage, and arbitrage. And we take those and we look at how these guys did it, and then we bring it down to how the everyday person, the common person, can do it and utilize it to get out of debt, to create a retirement beyond their dreams, something that's guaranteed, reliable, and predictable.
And Joseph, so James, you practiced law for many years, but then you got more into the estate planning, I believe, right? Or insurance?
Yes. Well, when I got out of law school, I was a public defender for a while. That burnt me out very quickly, and eventually I went into estate planning. I had that second law degree focusing on tax, and it just seemed to be the right fit. And that just transitioned into, let's just help people a little bit more, help them with retirement. And I'm seeing large numbers of our senior population heading into poverty, and that's a problem for me.
That's interesting. And I think you're right. I know on the way up here you were talking about the senior citizens in today's society. They're actually taking money out of their house and doing various things to help their kids, but putting them in a really bad situation. Correct.
And I think, we see this on a daily basis. The seniors are the ones that have the large amounts of the money right now, and they're helping their children bail out. Meanwhile, these same seniors are not going to have funds to make it throughout their lifetime, and we're seeing them go back into the workplace. They're calling it the octogenarian syndrome, and places like fast food restaurants have seniors in their 80s working in the drive-through window.
Wow. Yeah, you're right.
Not a place you want to end up.
Joe, how about you? Tell us about what your practice does.
Well, I have a consumer law practice. Prior to the Great Recession, I was focused on defending and representing small business owners. in real estate and corporate matters. We also have a personal injury department where we litigate serious personal injury claims. When the Great Recession occurred, I started getting calls from longtime clients that were in trouble. I learned about the array of issues that financially distressed consumers experience pretty quickly and started litigating those matters. And really, we've been doing so ever since.
And you're in the Newport Beach area, right?
That's correct. I'm in Newport Beach. I'm licensed to practice throughout California in federal and state court, and we do practice from San Diego to San Francisco, throughout the high desert, and really anywhere where there's a court in the state of California. If you have a debt matter, if you have a bankruptcy matter, if you are in danger of losing your home, we can help.
You know, it's funny because I know we've talked about this. One could say that you do too many things and you don't specialize or you don't have emphasis in one. But like you said, those things come hand in hand right now. I mean, if you're losing your home, you're having financial problems, you need debt settlement or possible bankruptcy or whatever the situation is, right? So I'm assuming when you have a client like that, are you kind of dealing with all of their issues?
Yeah, we do. And it's as if you went to a doctor and a general practice doctor can pass you along to someone that can, first, the general practice doctor or lawyer is a good diagnostician. So you can evaluate the individual, their situation, and then determine where they need to be. If the expertise lies within our firm, and we have 7 attorneys in addition to myself, if the expertise is within our firm, then we'll put them with the right individual inside the firm. And you do see these issues within the same household.
Sure.
And so so you really have to have that expertise to properly serve the consumer.
Well, guys, we have a ton of questions for you, and with all of your knowledge, if you don't mind, let's just get right to it. Today we're going to be talking about what to do when things look financially hopeless. Question number 1, do you see this a lot in your practice? Are you finding that your clients are basically at the end of the road, or are they coming to you before they get there?
It's all over the board. However, there is a tendency to ignore unpleasant realities in life throughout your life, and there's no difference in the legal arena. And so what I see is individuals will put off obligations that they have and come to me later than they should.
In case you just jumped into your car, you're listening to Money Matters with Dino on KTLK AM1150. We can be reached at 949-720-1616, and we're dealing with questions that have to do with what you do when things look financially hopeless. How about when family, friends, or just clients in general come to you and they're feeling ashamed, they're feeling helpless? Do you find that you're also being somewhat of a counselor here?
Absolutely. The attorney and counselor at law concept didn't really come through completely to me until we got into the Great Recession, and I can't tell you how many people have been in my office and have felt such despair that they've cried when they're describing their circumstances. Wow. And they felt hopeless. The positive aspect of that is that when they learn that they have options, because really, there's no debtor's prison. There are an array of options available to people that are in difficult circumstances, and so nothing is hopeless, right, in this arena. And so they come to me. They learn about the alternatives. They may not be as good as they were at one time. It may not be ideal,
sure,
but they have options, and they're relieved to find out what those are.
I just, in my own personal experience in the mortgage business, I've actually received calls where the husband, for example, didn't tell the wife or family that they were having issues, and they're on literally days away from being foreclosed on. And, he calls up and it's like, how did you even get to this point? That you waited that long. It's unbelievable, but it's feeling ashamed. It's scared to talk to his wife and let him know. And if you don't take care of that as a family, and I'm not a psychologist or a counselor here, but I've been through enough of it with my clients that if you don't take care of it as a family and be open with it, you really will get to a point where you wait till the last minute and then you're going to lose. That's why you have to seek out, the help of professionals. So let me ask you about bankruptcy then. What are the different types of bankruptcy and how do they work?
Well, for consumers, you're typically looking at a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which is a dissolution. Essentially, assets are sold off. What the remaining, the creditors are compensated pro rata. Some assets are retained. In a Chapter 13, and a discharge is received. In a Chapter 13, that's frequently called the working individual's bankruptcy. You go on a payment plan. It's much more common to do a Chapter 7 in Southern California today.
But aren't there certain laws that you can't make over a certain amount to qualify for Chapter 7?
That's true. There's a means test, and it doesn't apply in all cases. And really, a consumer should go to a bankruptcy attorney and talk to them, and not go online and try and figure it out themselves.
Sure.
Because they may interpret it incorrectly, and they may forego an option that they have.
And then on the Chapter 13, like you said, it's the working man's type, meaning you're going to pay back your debt, but they put you on a payment plan, right?
Correct.
Is there a specific time frame that you have, or could it go for 10, 15 years?
It won't go for more than 60 months.
60 months.
And different plans can be proposed to the court. But one thing to point out is that most of the people that, for example, in my practice, most of the people that come to me looking at bankruptcy as an alternative actually don't need to file bankruptcy. We're actually able to engage in an informal workout. Some of them, because they haven't confronted the issues and considered all their options, they rush to the bankruptcy card, and it's not necessary to go there right away. And then the other point I would make is that when you file bankruptcy, it's very much a possibility that you maintain your home, that you keep your home, and you ride through the bankruptcy with your home. In some cases, you can reduce the payments on your first or second mortgage. You could also, in some cases, eliminate the second mortgage, but you can keep your home.
Interesting. So you just touched upon my next question then. What if the person doesn't want to file for bankruptcy? What options do they what options do they have to keep the debt collectors from hounding them?
Well, sure. They have several options. They have rights. Debt collectors are constrained by the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, and in California, the Rosenthal Act in certain cases. And so those are rights that the consumer, or laws that protect consumers from harassment by collectors. Probably the thing that a consumer, I think, needs to do when they're being harassed, they need to have experienced counsel. In our case, we have the ability to file a bankruptcy. We also have the ability to do an informal workout, which is a workout with the backdrop of bankruptcy, which can make the creditor more willing to deal with us.
That's great advice. If you just jumped into your car, you're listening to Money Matters with Dino on KTLK AM1150. If you have any questions at all about anything you've heard here today, give us a call at 949-720-1616. That's 949-720-1616. This is a very difficult market with all kinds of pitfalls for buyers and sellers. Therefore, my recommendation is put together a team of professionals that really knows the industry, whether it's the real estate market or just financial planning or estate planning. And if you need any help at all putting that team together, give me a call and I'll help you. Call us at 949-720-1616. That's 949-720-1616, or check us out online at moneymatterswithdino.com. We'll be right back.
Alliance Portfolio is a licensed real estate broker. California DRE broker license 01868859, NMLS 324460.
Are you looking to diversify or add real estate secured investments to your portfolio? Did you know that investing in trust deeds can provide a better return with better security than many other alternate investments? For over 20 years, Alliance Portfolio has been providing the highest quality mortgage fund and trust deed investment opportunities with first-class service and communication. Alliance Portfolio offers well underwritten loans, low loan-to-value ratios, and all secured by prime Southern California coastal community real estate. At Alliance Portfolio, we don't just lend money, we lend our expertise. Call 949-349-1322 today and let us know that you heard us on the Dino and Nelson Show to capitalize on a special opportunity. That's 949-349-1322. Investors, when our job is done, your job is easy. Sit back and capitalize. 949-349-1322 or text the word Alliance to 313131.
When it comes to purchasing or refinancing your home, turn to someone with experience, CHL Mortgage. It doesn't matter if you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing the home of your dreams, or refinancing, the team of mortgage specialists at CHL Mortgage provide you with superior knowledge and service. Their ultimate goal? Getting the highest quality loan at low rates. Their second goal? To create a lasting relationship with every client and continue to provide excellent service for years to come. If you're looking to purchase or refinance, call the experts at 888-814-3335. That's 888-814-3335. Get additional details at www.chl.cc or call their office at 888-814-3335.
Welcome back to Money Matters with Dino on KTLK AM1150. If you have any questions for myself or my guests, or if you need help with your money matters, call me at 949-720-1616. That's 949-720-1616, or check us out online at moneymatterswithdino.com. This segment is brought to you by Citywide Home Loans, bringing you low rates, specials on closing costs, and exceptional service. So we're in the middle of our panel discussion with the experts, and if you're just tuning in, we're having an incredible discussion with what to do when things look financially hopeless. Of course, if you missed any part of the show, you can go to our website, moneymatterswithdino.com, and view the show from our show tab. We try our best, if Phil gets to it fast enough, we try our best to get it up right after the show. Sometimes we're a day late on it, but you can always go there and you'll see our guests, Joe Manning and James Burns, and you'll be able to get all their contact information as well. Guys, thanks so much for sticking around with me today. Let's talk a little bit about the intimidating topics that most people face when they're dealing with these financial pressures. So, James, I got a question for you.
Sure.
What segment of society seems to be the hardest hit with debt?
Well, what we're finding out, and a study that ARP did, was it's the middle-income individual that's 50 years and older. They're the ones that typically have the credit rating where they can actually have access to credit and get themselves in debt.
So is it because they have the credit or they have more obligation? What is it?
Exactly. Picture that 50-year-old out there, and they get a little bit strapped with funds because they're on a fixed income. They have medical expenses. They have to take care of that. So they're going to go to the pharmacy. They're going to put that on a credit card. Kaboom! That thing's ratcheting up. Next thing you know, they need groceries. They're out of that fixed income. People are just not living within their means. They're not doing things like tracking, hey, what's my income to what is the debts, and including my utilities and things of that nature. So people are just living kind of blind to this. I call it living kind of on hopium. They're just hoping things are going to get bad. It's a really psychedelic drug. Take your hopium, hope things get better, but it's not a strategy.
Wow. And is there anything they can do before, like preventative measures before they get to the place of foreclosure or bankruptcy?
Yeah, they need to get to some counseling and get off the hopium. It's almost like a drug. I mean, literally, people are sitting around just hoping that this stuff is going to go away, wishing it. But to really take it more to a practical matter, they need to do a simple family balance sheet. Get back to doing the family budgets, whether that's an Excel spreadsheet or you deploy some really simple software and track your income to your debts that are going out each month and know where you are. Live within your means. It's that simple.
Live within your means, wise words. Going back to if whoever was listening at the beginning of the show, when I do my words of wisdom, I quoted you earlier, and you said it in the car. I loved it. Stop living like a sand crab and start living like a human being. Basically, pull your head out of the sand, and there are options. And like you said, make a spreadsheet of how much you need to live, how much you make, and it's pretty simple. Don't overexceed what your needs are.
Absolutely. And here's something that I had a client once. They went back and they looked at all their utility bills and they went and renegotiated this stuff. They were able to cut some of the costs. They went back and renegotiated some of their credit cards. Just, the same stuff like Joe told us before that they can do on their own. It's some of your self-help that you need to do if you're getting into this position. But first you have to come to that place where you understand, hey, I'm in trouble and the hopium isn't going to get me out of it.
Just some quick advice too. I was just talking to a client the other day who had an issue where he was running low on funds. He got the NSF charges from the bank at like $35 a pop. And he had quite a few of them over the past month. And what he did, I told him, I just call up your bank and have them ask them. I got in financial trouble. Can you please help me out? And they credited him back something like $350+ just for asking.
Right. And a person really has to be aware that they're going to have to put away 3 or 4 hours to get that done. That's the only unfortunate part. That's why a lot of times it makes sense to hire a firm or use somebody else, because literally it becomes a part-time job trying to negotiate this stuff on your own, and you have to have the hours available to do it.
Sure. Joe, what about foreclosure? What's the process? What do you go through to get foreclosed on?
Yeah, well, what we saw after the Great Recession, consumers lost income. Their income went down, or they lost their job completely. So the income part of their balance sheet plunged, and yet their debts didn't plunge. Their debts either stayed the same or they increased because they started living on credit. And even if you're a reasonable, rational person, it's difficult to avoid that when you have a sudden change in your income. There's really, especially if you have a family and a lot of obligations, it's tough. There's not a lot you can do.
Sure.
You can get pulled under pretty quickly by that. Frequently what would happen, individuals would live on credit cards for a period of time. When that became unavailable to them, their limits were exhausted, or the credit cards were closed by the issuer because of their falling credit rating, they would then stop making their mortgage payments. Sometimes at the behest of the lender, it really depended. They would then try to modify their loan. They'd get a notice of intent to accelerate. Shortly after, they would receive a notice of default, then a notice of trustee sale, and then their home would be sold.
And how long does that process take?
It's really interesting. I've seen there are parts of it that are dictated by statute. The notice of default, really any time after your loan's been accelerated, you can receive a notice of default. You then have 90 days before they can record a notice of trustee sale. You then have 20 days before your property can be sold. The interesting part of that is that prior to the recording of the notice of default, you could be late for 3 months, 6 months, 2 years.
Yeah.
It just depends. I saw one instance where an individual hadn't made a mortgage payment in 5 years. That's the longest I've seen. Of course, that predates the Great Recession, or it did at the time that I saw it. And I speculate that they went through a bankruptcy and their file was basically lost. So it was eventually found.
What about purely from an investment standpoint, number crunching view? What is it? Does it make sense to ever let a house go into foreclosure?
It does, and really, you need the advice of an expert to understand whether you should allow a property to go. You may want to engage a financial planner or someone that looks at that aspect of your life, like James, and so that because it has to do with the totality of your financial circumstances. From a legal perspective, I can tell you what the ramifications of letting the property go will be. In a foreclosure, some debts are recourse, some are non-recourse.
And that's the main thing I wanted to get to, because some people don't realize sometimes there could be some serious tax implications, right?
Yeah, well, there can be. The issue of recourse or non-recourse usually rears its ugly head when there's been a foreclosure by the first trust deed holder, and then there's also a second. It's not to get too technical, but a non-purchase money second in California is a recourse note. So after the foreclosure, within 4 years, and I'm reminded that not everybody knows what recourse means in this context. It's what they call a term of art, and really it means that can they come back to you individually and get their money, okay?
Right.
Rather than selling your property, which is the security that they've received with their deed of trust. So rather than trying to foreclose, after the foreclosure, can they come after you? And the answer is no, generally. However, if the loan fits certain criteria, then the answer is yes. And that's what you need to know, are those criteria present in your case? Recently, I've had several individuals that short-sold homes come back to me. They're being sued by their second, who allowed the short sale to proceed. They released the deed and allowed title to be conveyed, but they didn't get a release of the obligation under the note. And there's some wrinkles in the law there, but you have the potential for a lawsuit, and in some cases it'll lead to a bankruptcy. So a stitch in time saves 9. You can negotiate that beforehand. So talk to somebody that knows because sometimes foreclosure is the best thing for you, but the devil's in the details.
So as you just heard, there's a lot of great content, and my best advice is don't sit around the coffee pot at work and listen to your coworkers. Go talk to the professionals, and you can find the professionals that you're listening here today at on my website at moneymatterswithdino.com, or you can call us at 949-720-1616. That's 949-720-1616. So next question. Either one of you, whoever knows this, who would be better suited for it, will the IRS always let you negotiate a settlement on your tax debt?
In the absolute, will they always? No. However, do they want to be paid and in general terms, under reasonable, if you're reasonable and fair with them, and will they work with you? The answer is yes. The worst thing you can do is avoid tax authorities, either be it the Franchise Tax Board, the Board of Equalization, the IRS. Don't go dark on them, because the consequences will be potentially dire for you, right? And you remarked in the previous discussion about not taking advice around the water cooler at work. This week, I spent several hours trying to unravel a complicated situation for a gentleman with fairly substantial assets who had been taking legal and financial advice from his chiropractor. Needless to say, he now has judgments, and I'm not joking, right? And his chiropractor had been getting the information that he was the advice he was dispensing was based on countercultural, sort of nefarious chat rooms on the internet. And again, I'm not. This is real. This is happening. I'm seeing this relatively frequently, right? And so we're trying to unravel that. And this fellow's in some jeopardy, at least of the 5-figure variety. Wow. And his credit's taking a substantial hit. So don't do that. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And a consultation from somebody like me, and in particular from me, it's free. Don't talk to the chiropractor about your finances.
You heard it, folks. It's free. No, I will attest to that, because I can't tell you, every time especially when I'm dealing with first-time home buyers, when I have clients and everything's going smooth, and all of a sudden they throw a curveball at me, and it's because somebody at work around the water cooler said, "Oh, you shouldn't ever have to pay for something like that." And what they don't realize is that it's a little more complex than that simple of an answer. And every situation is different. I think that's the key. Like, your particular situation may not work for theirs, and theirs may not work for you. So for you to take advice of somebody of how they dealt with it, it's just the wrong thing to do. Absolutely the wrong thing.
And I just wanted to throw in there that you can go to the IRS website and put in the word offer and compromise, and it's going to ask you all the questions that you need to know to see whether or not you qualify. After that, typically you're going to want to maybe see an attorney to get the attorney-client privilege over your negotiation with the IRS.
Well, we're out of time on this segment, but we'll be right back to get a few more questions answered by the attorneys. You're listening to Money Matters with Dino on KTLK AM1150. This segment was brought to you by Citywide Home Loans, bringing you low rates, specials on closing costs, and exceptional services. If you want to reach me or my guests, you can call us at 949-720-1616. It's 949-720-1616. And I will put you in touch with either Joe or James. Stick around after the break. We'll be right back.
Alliance Portfolio is a licensed real estate broker. California DRE broker license 0186885 NMLS 324460.
Are you looking to diversify or add real estate secured investments to your portfolio? Did you know that investing in trust deeds can provide a better return with better security than many other alternate investments? For over 20 years, Alliance Portfolio has been providing the highest quality mortgage fund and trust deed investment opportunities with first-class service and communication. Alliance Portfolio offers well underwritten loans, low loan-to-value ratios, and all all secured by prime Southern California coastal community real estate. At Alliance Portfolio, we don't just lend money, we lend our expertise. Call 949-349-1322 today and let us know that you heard us on the Dino and Nelson Show to capitalize on a special opportunity. That's 949-349-1322. Investors, when our job is done, your job is easy. Sit back and capitalize. 949-349-1322 or text the word Alliance to 313131.
Thank you for hanging with us. This is Money Matters with Dino on KTLK AM1150, and I'm your host, Dino Katsiametis, and I'm here to give you the tools and information to build a secure and strong portfolio with real estate. If you have any questions, either for myself or my guests, you can reach us at 949-720-1616. That's 949-720-1616, or you can check us out on moneymatterswithdino.com. James, I want to ask you, Phil, our producer, was asking, I'm just kidding, Phil, if you're going to go through a divorce and you want to kind of prepare ahead of time, is there anything tax-wise, like a helpful tip you can recommend?
Well, if we're preparing, we're going to start putting that in the prenuptial agreement. We're going to prepare from day one. We're not even going to enter this union without having that stuff laid out.
That's World War III before you even start.
Yeah, but assuming you haven't done that like most people, you're going to go see your CPA before you're going to go file that paperwork so that you can start determining how are these different types of incomes going to be characterized. And then, you know what, a lot of this just comes to very good, open and honest communication, assuming that can be done so that the two parties can decide which assets they're going to take, and then maybe the two of them should both sit down with the CPA before they enter in it because it impacts both of them.
You heard that, Phil. You got to go together with that person.
And if there's no love anymore, then I don't know what.
My advice is first go by yourself and then go together.
Strategic.
And what about another question on taxes? Child support. Is child support deductible, and is alimony deductible?
Alimony is, but child support is not. And typically that's why we see a lot more of the other spouses usually asking for more child support because they could really care less about the alimony that they're going to have to report. If they get more of that child support, they're not going to be reporting that. So big case by case, but the short answer to that is alimony yes, child support no.
Joe, we had a question from one of the listeners. He said, long story short, I was injured at LAX due to the negligence of American Airlines. I'm wondering if the settlement offer is taxable income.
Well, it'll depend on the claim made and the types of damages that are claimed. If you lost earnings, just as if you had received those earnings, they're going to be taxable in your settlement. If you're injured and so you've lost the function of the use and enjoyment of your physical being, or you're unable to live your life as you had before, the compensation for that is going to be considered something that makes you whole. So you're really not, conceptually, you're not getting anything new, and so there's nothing to tax. Your attorney, and that's one of the things that we do, would structure the claim and the settlement appropriately in order to minimize taxation. And you also want to consider that if there's a confidentiality clause in your settlement, to the extent that there's consideration for the confidentiality clause, you may be converting the settlement sometimes in substantial part into a taxable nature.
Oh, interesting.
So just deal with an expert in that area, and then you'll be okay.
You know, one of the main reasons why I love doing this show every week is because of the people that I get to interview and the knowledge that they have. I feel like I know quite a few things regarding business, but I didn't know that. And that was just great content right there. So thank you very much. And I do urge all of you listeners, if you have questions, just log on either to Facebook or to our website, moneymatterswithdino.com. Ask your question. I love it when we have listener participation because then we get to ask it direct to the experts here. Another question from a listener. I received a settlement for personal physical injury, and attorney fees were paid out of the settlement, and the rest went to medical bills, paid through the attorney's office. Do I count the attorney's fees as income on my taxes? I was not covered under insurance or disability.
No, you should not be taxed on the attorney fees. That would be deducted from the settlement.
So before you get the money, it goes to the attorney, so therefore there's no income to you.
Right. Well, what happens, the settlement check typically will go to the attorney. The attorney will globally resolve the claims to the settlement. So if there are if there are medical bills, insurance issues, those will all be resolved by the attorney. And then before you agree to the settlement, really, you should have that presented to you in the form of a statement. And then you would say, okay, then you would understand what you will receive and who is getting what. You should only be taxed on the part that you actually receive.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So last question, the homeowner's Bill of Rights. How do can you explain that to the listeners?
Well, I can, and
quickly
in detail, but yeah, on a practical level, the lenders and servicers overplayed their hand and mistreated people, in many ways. And it's throughout the media. You can read about it. You could probably ask your neighbors. You may even be a victim of this kind of behavior. And understand that, there's two sides to every story. And when you don't make your mortgage payment, they have a legitimate interest in protecting the interest of the lender. But they overplayed their hand. They went too far. They mistreated people unnecessarily and inappropriately. And so what happened is the attorneys general stepped in and obtained a national mortgage settlement, okay? And that happened last year, and it placed limitations on what servicers can do. Now, Kamala Harris, the Attorney General in the state of California that was instrumental in obtaining the national settlement and negotiating California's part of that settlement, she then proposed legislation to make the national mortgage settlement, the tenets of that settlement, the law permanently in California. And so all servicers, for the most part, without being technical, all servicers of real import to us as consumers are covered, and they have limitations placed on what they can do. And in general, they can't dual track you. And they are required to, if your circumstances change under an appropriate intervention is made on your behalf, they're required to reconsider you. And so there are really these new measures, this new sort of due process. There are some damages claims that can be made, and I attribute the presence of these new laws and these new processes, which by the way are permanent. It's the law. It's not temporary. It's permanent. It changes a little over time, but it's for the most part it would be enough for the average person to say it's permanent. And you know what? The lenders have nobody to thank but themselves for that, because they overplayed their hand, they pushed it too far, and this is what they got. It's karma for lenders. And what we've been doing at my law firm, we have filed many cases since January 1 when this law became effective. We've stopped foreclosure sales, and in fact, we recently filed after a sale, but before the trustee's deed upon sale was issued, stopped the deed from being issued, and now there's really a substantial chance this homeowner is going to get his home back. And frankly, the trustee and the lender are quite concerned about their potential liability.
I got to say, spoken like a true consumer attorney. Guys, I want to thank you for being on the show. You guys were both great, and I got to tell you, we had a bunch more questions that we just couldn't get to, just because you guys really, I think, put out a lot of good information here today, and I hope that you listening right now also agreed. And guys, if you both are willing to, I'd love to have you back on the show one of these days real soon.
Thank you. Love to come back.
You're listening to Money Matters with Dino on KTLK AM1150. If you have any questions for myself or the guests that you heard here today, you can call us at 949-720-1616. It's 949-720-1616, or you can reach us at moneymatterswithdino.com. So right now we have our infamous Ask Dino segment, where you, the listener, have gone either to Facebook or our website, and you have your questions that you just want answered, and we do our best to answer every single question.
Yeah, although today we're only going to get to like 2 or 3. But that's okay.
Well, I'll rattle them off fast. Let's do them.
All right. During the market boom, I locked into a 2 adjustable rate home loans that I can hardly handle now. Big surprise. I'm a single 34-year-old woman with a job that pays well, but I'm bringing in just enough to cover the mortgages and my living expenses. I'm looking for someone to rent a room for the extra income. In the meantime, do I ride this out and hope that the housing market makes an upturn, or try to sell the place now?
Listen, you got 2 adjustable rate mortgages. The truth is, your interest rates are probably the lowest they've ever been. So if you're having a hard time affording it now, when they start going up, you're going to have a much harder time. I mean, this is the exact scenario as to why you want to get a hold of Joe Manning, who can go through your scenario and talk to you about what your options are, because it's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. Rates are going to go up.
Okay.
What's the next question?
I'm interested in buying a home in a country club community. It's competitive to get one, and I'm not sure I want to be there for more than 5 years. Will it be a good investment if I decide to sell it?
My crystal ball says most likely. I mean, gosh, I don't know. It depends. There's so many factors involved, but if it's a competitive community to get a home in, that means that when one does come on the market, it's probably going to be easy to sell, and the market has turned around. Values are going up. Anytime you can get near water or golf course or something of that nature, it's usually a good investment. So I'm going with yes.
All right.
We have to have time for some more, don't we?
No, that's it. We're done. Sorry, bro.
Oh, okay. My gosh. Well, I'll tell you what. I will personally get back to you on email on the questions we didn't get a chance to answer, or we'll get to them next week as well. Well, I hate saying, but this is the end of the show. Thank you for listening. This is Dino, and you were listening to Money Matters with Dino on KTLK AM1150. If you have any questions for myself or anything you heard here today with Joe Manning and James Burns, call us at 949-720-1616. That's 949-720-1616. You can also find us online at moneymatterswithdino.com. It's a tremendous source for you and any of your financial needs. I want to thank my panel this week, Joe Manning from Manning Law Offices and White Diamond Insurance Services, attorney James Burns. Also a big thank you to my humble producer, Phil Giagrande, for all the work you do on the show. A very special thank you goes out to you, the listener, and for also sending me all the questions. You're the reason I come on every week, and I love doing this show. I truly hope you get as much out of it as I do. We're here every Saturday from noon to 1 on KTLK AM1150. If you missed any part of the show or you would like to hear it, you can catch it on our website at moneymatterswithdino.com. Just go to the show tab, and you can see and hear any one of the shows from there. Thank you all so much for listening. Remember, your future is up to you. Bye for now.